A lot of things happen. Sometimes some chiefs get greedy. They even sell cemeteries to people. Yeah.
%60 of cases in Ghanaian courts right now are to do with land litigation issues. And that is a statistic that my guest today always talks about every time I have a conversation with him. And I want to make sure that you are not part of that statistic. Guys, I'm Lorraine and welcome back to my channel. Today, we are here speaking to a real estate expert from Property Data Hub to help you to navigate the legal landscape when it comes to land purchases, when it comes to identifying properties you wish to purchase, when it comes to how you can actually get your hands on a particular piece of land or a property. So guys, stick with me because it's going to be a very insightful interview. So if you've been away from my channel for a while, then there's a problem. You probably haven't hit on the notification bell. Make sure you hit on that notification bell and give this video a thumbs up. And also, please drop something in the comments. Let me know something new that you've learned, or if you have any questions for my guests, then make sure you do drop it down below. So guys, let's get into it. So, I want to introduce you, Mr. Kwame. He is here from Property Data Hubs. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. Yeah. I know. We did this before, and every time you speak, there is gold that comes out. So I was like, we need to uncover more. And today I think we'll get more into inheritance, into wills, into why there is a lot of court cases that concern land, and really how the diaspora community can avoid getting into that. But there's a statistic that you always share, which is 60% of land cases or cases in court are around land disputes and issues and litigation challenges. Yeah. Why is that?
Mostly, so from what I say in our office, most people who come to us with like land issues, when you talk to them prior to purchasing the land, who did you consult? It's like they went into a transaction with on the blind eye. So I would say most people don't get the right guidance. Most people don't engage solicitors to help them navigate all the hassles and the path of litigation.
Okay. So where does Property Data Hub come in?
Well, so we are a real estate advisory firm. We help people navigate all the bureaucracies with due diligence, understanding to know who is the actual legal owner of the land that you are acquiring, helping you with the conveyance and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So when it comes to land acquisition, we are the right people to come to.
It's the right people to come to. Every time we have a conversation, people always message us. We're like, Lorraine, can we work with Kwame? Can we work with, you know? So I'm hoping that today, if you guys are interested in finding out more how you can also work with both myself and Kwame, then please drop it in the comments and we will just certainly reach out. But let's go through it step by step. So if somebody let's actually start from, if somebody is in the diaspora and they're looking to buy land, where would you say are the top 5 locations that are up and coming to buy land right now in Ghana?
Right now in Ghana, in Accra, I would say we are really urbanizing towards the East Legon Hills and its environs, spreading to Ebri. Those people who cannot afford Ebri, all hope is not lost. You can consider the Mampong area further down. Yeah. It's also very up and coming. I would say, I don't know if you know the place called
Obosomase, which is further up the mountain.
Exactly. Yeah. So all those are potential areas that you can buy now and hope the price will skyrocket in no time. Yeah.
And then outside of Accra? Outside of the greater Accra, because you've mentioned the breed.
Yeah, so I'll take Kumasi because most people in the diaspora are from Kumasi. Yeah. So you take a place like.
Did you hear that? He said most people from the diaspora are from Kumasi.
That's a mistake.
We're not cutting it.
We have to cut it.
We're not cutting it because, to be honest, I'm half Ashanti. Okay. The other half is Ekwapim, but I always claim the Ekwapim side because I grew up with my mom and she's from Ebri. Exactly. Okay. So we're from Ebri. So I normally.
So I would say most people from the diaspora who want to invest, like Kumasi is one of the areas that they usually ask for.
Okay, right? Fine.
So Kumasi, you look at Ejiso area, Apromase, I keep forgetting this name. There's an area around Ejiso. It's also, I think, Wankra. Okay. They had a proposed inland port there.
Okay.
Yeah, the government has a proposed inland port
Okay.
where most containers which should be shipped to the landlocked countries, Burkina and all those areas, they transit and then they don't have to drive all the way to Accra and Tema to pick the
I
containers.
see.
So all the containers which are supposed to move to those countries will have to transit to the Buankra.
Okay.
And any driver picking that container up is a brilliant idea. I don't know if that dream is still coming up or.
See.
So
Interesting.
it's a good place to invest. Probably have guest house and all those
Yeah, of
things
course,
available.
of
It's a good
course.
place to invest as well.
And then what about the beachfront areas?
Beachfront, you are looking at Winneba.
Closer to the Cape Coast side.
Exactly, which is also like springing up very quick. Also, you are looking at Pram Pram, coming up very quick. And some part of Takra, they have a place, is there in Zulezu, that's how they have like
Okay.
nice waterfront.
Nice, okay. So if somebody's heard of all of these locations and they're looking at potentially purchasing land, what would you say are their steps to acquire the land?
Okay, so never skip due diligence. It's going to cost you like in the long run. So always try and get in touch with the right professional, surveyors, lawyers. The first point of call is to really establish what actually you are buying, right? So the practice in Ghana is most people will give you the site plan that this is what I'm selling to you. But you as the layman, how will you be able to verify that this size plan is legit?
Correct.
I mean, we've dealt with people where their size plan is falling in the sea. Like coordinate 00 is in the sea, so they don't own any land technically. So once you get a surveyor, the surveyor will actually go on the ground, say, Lorraine, you are selling this piece of land to me. Where is the boundary? Where does it start from? Where does it end? The surveyor will pick the coordinate on the ground. He will generate his own site plan. And that's where we can even validate whether the person was trying to mislead you or not, because if he generated a site plan for you, it should match with the site plan the person gave you. So from that, we can run searches from the Lands Commission. It doesn't end there. It's very important to also conduct searches at the planning district assembly. That will give you information about the zoning regulations. Maybe your plan is to build on that parcel of land you are buying, but maybe per the planning scheme is a school.
Yeah, so it's like commercial versus residential.
Exactly.
Laws and what you
Maybe
can
it's a
build.
clinic. A lot of things happen. Sometimes some chiefs get greedy. They even sell cemeteries to people. Yeah. True. So on the planning scheme, when they do a planning scheme, they earmark spaces for taking into account every single activity that happens.
Yeah.
So there are residential,
Yeah.
the people who need school, right? The people who need hospital, the people who need marketplaces, the people who need cemetery. So they take into account all those functions and activities.
Yeah.
But sometimes when they are done selling the residential, they tip into the no-go areas. So you often see that someone is going for a building permit and then they will tell him that your land is earmarked for school. So you need to apply for rezoning.
Right.
And that one is going to cost you money. So it's good to conduct searches at the municipal assembly and get information on what you can do on the land. If you are buying the land for residential and you conduct your search and it's a school, maybe you can tell the chief that he will have to bear the cost for the rezoning, or you can negotiate.
Because he's the one that sold
Exactly,
you.
having that information.
Yeah.
Else you may be disappointed.
Okay, so if somebody is looking to potentially, they've acquired the land and now they want to do all these searches and things like, approximately what kind of cost do they need to budget for just for all these additional searches, just roughly, or a range? Surveillancy, searches, valuation, etc., etc.
Maybe between 12 to 15,000 cedis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or do you take it as percentage of the?
No, it's not a percentage, it's a flat fee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know, for searches, the bigger your plot size, the more you
more
pay on
expensive.
official fees and the more you pay on other costs as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Indeed. So we've spoken about that kind of process of acquiring it, but what are the mistakes the diaspora make? So typically when they're looking to buy it, you said that they don't engage surveyors, they've already purchased it, etc. What other mistakes do you tend to find when it comes to just more generally with property?
Yeah.
What mistakes do they tend to make?
So I think one of the common mistakes they do is they don't get involved fiscally, right? So someone will tell you my land is in East Legon Hills, and you even ask him like, have you seen the land before? And the common answer is no. So who was the person on the ground for you? Say, oh, my cousin. Say, okay. Well, so the assumption is the person has all your specs, all your preference and everything to make that decision for you. So that's one of the biggest mistakes. Maybe you are in UK, you are buying a land. Maybe you don't want a church close to you. Your cousin doesn't know.
Yeah.
He acquired a land to you close to a church. And the second mistake they do is not going through the due diligence process, because maybe sometimes, I wouldn't blame them too much. I think usually they involve people who are novice.
Okay.
So maybe you are relying on your uncle. Your uncle himself doesn't know the right steps to take. So that's where you get caught up in issues. Exactly.
So what are the red flags that people should look out for, genuinely? So if they saw a piece of land and they're interested in, what are the red flags?
You always have to make sure that you are buying the land from the legal owner, right? So if you are buying the land from someone and the story is not conclusive, oh, I bought it from the chief and this happened and I'm supposed to sell. Some of the stories never add up.
Yeah.
Some of the stories never add up. And when you are trying to buy and there is a judgment on the land too, you need to be careful, right? A judgment could be at any level. It could be at the circuit court. It could be at the high court. It could be at the Supreme Court. So if you are buying a land and there is a judgment on it, you may have to get a lawyer to digest the judgment and give you the pros and cons. Because the person who lost at the circuit court may appeal, may take the case to the high court.
Yeah.
So you should be ready to follow through
all the way.
All the way.
Yeah.
There are some cases, even when you appeal at the high court, you lose.
Yeah.
At the appeal court, you lose. At the Supreme Court, you lose. But you may not be able to tell because you are not a trained lawyer. So if you are buying and there is a judgment, you may also have to pay particular attention to the stage at which the case is. Exactly.
Kwame is so knowledgeable. He is a trained lawyer but does not practice law. Or you graduated in law, but he's not practicing law. But that's why he's very knowledgeable in this space. And he wanted to correct me. I really corrected myself. But generally, we've spoken about some of these litigation issues. I recently learned that one of the more nuanced challenges that could exist is where you are buying land from somebody who's married. So the person is married and they sold it by themselves. But the wife, I'm using the wife because it's normally the man. The wife.
Why not the woman? Let's
say the man was selling the land because he needed money to pay for the lady's hair, and he didn't tell the wife that he wants to sell in the land because he wanted to buy her some wigs, and some hair. Yeah. But then she found out, and she said, "No, you're not selling the land." She has a right, and she has a claim on the land to stop. She has a legal claim on the land, even though the land is not in her name, but because she's a spouse. So I know that is a law here in Ghana, that the spouse has a legal right to the sale of property, So what's your take on that?
So all properties acquired during marriage are deemed as joint property, like you and your wife owns it. So usually for sale, Lands Commission doesn't ask for consent letters for when you are registering it. But when you are taking a mortgage, you are doing like equity release, the bank actually gets your wife to sign like a consent agreement in most.
But then sales, because imagine you are coming to sell me something and then you didn't tell your wife, I bought the land, but then your wife finds out later on, she now has a right to challenge the sale.
Well, she can challenge the sale. She can. That would be a lengthy process if she wants to go through that.
But it's
hassle. But it's
the reality. So if you're buying something, you need to find out that person's married.
Yeah, you have to.
Because it could cause some problems. And has your wife or your husband
agreed? But you see, that not being said, the Lands Act, there is a waiver. So if at the time of acquisition of the property, if it was explicitly stated that the property was the sole, the property used to be owned by one party alone. So the Lands Act makes provision to take care of that. So prior to acquisition, maybe you can tell your lawyer, or maybe you are in agreement with your wife or your husband that this property there is for me alone.
But he said it. He might not be the reality at home. You know?
No, so I'm saying prior to. So there are some conveyancing that your lawyer can put it in the conveyancing that this property is for maybe the husband alone.
Yeah.
This property is for the wife alone. But if you are not dealing with such a situation, then you may have to tell the person that he or she needs a consent letter from the spouse.
Wow.
Yeah.
I see.
But you see, the reality is, there are some conveyancing where you see the man and the husband's name on the deeds. And there are those that you see maybe only the woman's name or the man's name. With those that you see the man or the woman's name, it's very easy to pull it away, right? It's very easy to do a transaction on the blind side of your spouse. So that will not even come up.
So speaking about family stuff, in the event that the spouse passed away, tell me a little bit more about wills, inheritance, and just generally how that works when it comes to maybe somebody who had something in their name, they then passed away. Who does it go to? Does it go to the husband? Does it go to the children? What does inheritance look like? I think we need to unpack this a little bit more.
Yeah. So it depends on how the person died. Some people leave behind a will, some people die without a will. So if the person left a will, that's the testament. That's the last
the last testament.
Yes, of the will, exactly. Yeah. So it means the property will be distributed in accordance with the last message of the person, right? So maybe the person will say, oh, I want this property to be given to this person. I want this property to be given to this person. And mind you that wills are also guided by law. We have law, we have the Wills Act that specifies how a will should be done, what constitutes like a legal will. And wills can be challenged as well, right? So when the person died with a will, it means the property will be disbursed according to the will. And when the person died without a will, we say the person died intestate, right? So we have PNDC law 111 that guides.
Let's slow down. He's talking very fast. The testate. So let's go from the testate, right? So we understand that. So you said it's when the person hasn't
died with a will.
Dies with a will.
The person left behind a will.
Testate.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And when the person died without a will, we say the person died intestate.
Intestate.
Exactly.
Okay, fine.
So when you died intestate, it means your properties or whatever you left behind will be shared in accordance with the law. That's the PNDC law 111.
Okay.
There are some customary arrangement. There are some religious arrangement. I know for the Muslims, their properties are shared in accordance with the Islamic laws.
Okay.
So sometimes customary comes in, sometimes religion comes in, but ultimately the law is supreme. So
the law, what does it state in the event that somebody's married through customary marriage, or does it state in the event that there's no, so let's talk about intestate. What does that look like?
So intestate, your property will be shared in accordance with the PNDC law 111. So it makes provision for everyone. The surviving spouse, the children, the parent, and siblings. Okay. So for instance, if you left behind one house, the surviving spouse and the children
have to share the house.
Yeah, we'll take it.
I see. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So if maybe you left two houses, I'm not very clear on what the law says, but it will be shared accordingly. Okay. So if you left multiple properties, it means your parents, your siblings, and all those people will be taken care of. Okay. Yeah.
And so talk to me a little bit more about inheritance, how it works, what the laws are like, just generally so that people understand more about the inheritance space.
So usually, I think when you mention the word inheritance, people only think when their parent died is when they get inheritance. But currently, the trend is more people are giving their properties to the beneficiaries, their sons, children, grandchildren.
While they're alive.
Yeah, because they are alive, right? So you don't have to wait. Else they will pray for you to die quicker. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait. So you can give it to them. So when you die with a will, right? We have something called in your will, you also don't forget that you have to mention the people that you want them to execute your will.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay,
so that's what we call them, executors of a will. Yeah. So they will all be mentioned. Maybe you can appoint 3 executors in your will. And when you die, they will apply to the court, the probate, right? They will pay. And also, if you are planning your will, you need to leave money for solicitors fee, probate, and all those stuff. We've been in the middle of situation where people have inherited properties and the closing costs, money to pay for probate and legal fees, even a challenge. So in the will, the executors will apply for probate. They will do your solicitor will help you at this point, apply to the court. You know, when the will is in place, you need power to execute the will.
Okay.
Yeah, not that there's a will, so you quickly go and inherit the property.
Is that the bundles of rights?
No.
Oh, that's different.
No, that's different.
Okay.
So there is a will.
Yeah.
Your parent died with a will, right? They are saying you go and take the property at Airport Hills, right? But there need to be a court order to execute that will, right? You don't just jump into the property that, oh, there is a will, so you've taken possession. And remember that the dead person cannot assign his interest to you. So the legal interest will be with the executors of the estate to assign, exactly.
I see.
So the executors are now going to assign the interest to you.
But they have no interest.
They don't have any interest. They are only looking at executing your father's or your mother's last statement, right? So they are now going to transfer the legal ownership to you. So once you have the legal ownership, you are the same person, the beneficiary of the property. So they will do what we call, with the help of a lawyer, they will do what we call vesting assent. So they are now going to vest the property to you. And after that, you are now a property owner. You've inherited what was given to you.
The steps are very, very, there's quite a lot of steps in it. So it's really important. So
but it's straightforward.
It's straightforward. What's the moral of the story? The moral is that you should have a will, you know?
Yes.
To all of our parents, our family members, our siblings.
I think the moral is that they shouldn't die before they give the inheritance. They should give it away. You know, when you give it away, they will pray that you stay longer, right?
Well, you see? Yeah. I think he's onto something. So to everybody, it's not even about the will. Just pass it on already. Pass it on. Yeah. Share the link.
But don't be like the prodigal son.
Don't be like the prodigal son, he says. I see. We understand that as a person, like the inheritance point, but what if, so we know in Ghana, for example, there are rules around, we know about the leasehold system, the freehold system. You've come on before and spoken a lot about, you know, the differences between that and what is available. We'll, if we've got time, we'll come back into that. But just generally, if somebody's lease term is up and the person is, it corresponds with the time in which the person is passing away or is about to happen, and then maybe it expires before the person inherits it. Let's just unlock a little bit of that. Let's backtrack and just talk about the rules around the leasehold terms, and then what that means when there is a will and there isn't a will.
Okay. So there is a section in your lease agreement that says, I think it's even the preamble. It says this agreement is to you and your heirs. So it means you and your generation or whoever you give it to. So if you are assigning that property to maybe your grandchild or your son through a will, right? It means the agreement in the lease is binding on the person as well. So if your father left your property and it has 7 years of unexpired term, it is your responsibility. Once you are the beneficial owner, you are profiting from the property. You are supposed to take up the lease renewal process. Exactly.
So remind us about the lease terms here in Ghana. What is allowed, what is permitted for a foreigner versus a Ghanaian?
So for foreigners, you cannot have more than 50 years lease, right? For Ghanaians, you can have 99 years, right? And now, under the new Lands Act, you can't have a freehold. The law prevents the creation of freehold. But if someone has an existing freehold and he's selling to you, the law will recognize it.
So talk us through a little bit about the types of lands that there are.
Okay, so basically we have government land, which we usually term as state land. We have stool lands, family lands.
Skin lands.
So under the stool, we have the skin lands and the stool. Because like when you go to the southern part, our chiefs, they sit on stool. That's why we call it like stool land. But when you go to the northern part, their chiefs usually sit on skins. That's why we call them skin lands.
Stools versus skins. South versus north.
Exactly.
Okay, So typically when it comes to, you know, you tend to find a lot of Accra land in certain areas, might be government land, for example. There is still family land in some areas. So what do people need to, when it comes to the differences in the different types of lands, what are the interests that could be assigned? What does that look like?
So you can't have the creation of freehold is bad, but then if someone has a freehold and he's assigning to you, the law recognizes that. So you can't have a freehold, you can't have a leasehold, you can't have a sublease. It drops down to license for farmlands. They have their own customary arrangement that they do for farmlands as well.
Okay, that is dependent on the type of land. So we've gone through the state land, the customary land, the vested lands, for example, and you're saying they each have a different way in which the interest could be assigned, and you're saying that just explain that.
You can have a leasehold. So if maybe a Stool is assigning an interest to you, they can give you 99 years, they can give you 60 years, they can give you 70 years. Maybe you're a private developer, you have also acquired the land from the Stool, you've done your gated community, you are also assigning your interest to people. You can either give subleases to people, right? I think sometimes too, people should make like a deliberate effort to negotiate on these things. I think we've made it like a boilerplate agreement where sometimes we don't even talk about it. They say, oh, we'll do the document for you, and then they will bring you what they want. But I think you are in the position to negotiate on all these things.
On lease terms and lease durations? And what about also putting a covenant already around the renewable? Like it can be at a certain rate or marginalized or at the percentage of like what can you put at the time of purchase in your agreement that keeps you in 99 years? It means that you don't have to pay so much renewable.
So, because you have an existing interest in it, for government land, it's very in practice and in valuation, it's very clear. Because you have an existing interest, when you are renewing, we don't say you are buying the land again. We are saying you have an existing interest, so you pay a premium, which is lower than the market value. So if the market value is selling for maybe 60,000 cedis, you get to pay maybe half of it for the renewal. But for the families and Stools, I don't know how they've been structuring their renewal fees. I don't know whether. I think some people may want to push to still get like the market value, but which is not fair.
It's not fair
exactly.
At all. Yeah. Okay. So the moral of the story is trying to negotiate as much of a higher lease term, unexpired lease term, as much as possible at the beginning. Okay. So could you talk a little bit about the title deeds and documentation that somebody receives to make sure that that title, the land, or the legitimacy of the documentation they're receiving, this is what that person needs to make sure.
Okay. So when you buy a property, the processes vary from region to region. So in Ashanti region, all lands belongs to the king, right? So when you buy a property, they give you an allocation note. And with the allocation note, you apply to the secretariat, the land secretariat, Ministerial Land Secretariat, for a lease to be granted to you. In Accra, it's varied. So when you are buying maybe a government land, when you pay your fees and all those stuff, a lease is engrossed in your name, right? When you are buying a family land or a Stool land, same thing. A lease is engrossed in your name. So when you have your documents, I'm believing that at this time you've done your due diligence, you are very sure of whatever you are buying. So you have your documents. Your documents should pass the test of time. There are certain things that you need to see. So one, you need to check the site plan. You need to have a barcoded site plan to enable you register your property. Two, you should have done your stamp duty, right? Stamp duty is the tax that you pay on the transaction. You should have, leases are supposed to be drafted by lawyers in Ghana. So if you've taken your agreement or your lease document to a secretary somewhere, it's not endorsed, it means you need a lawyer to endorse it before you can tender it. And also you need to do the oath of proof. The oath of proof is the High Court's registrar authenticating the document more or less as a witness, right? And also you need witnesses in every transaction, right? The deponent needs to sign. The person selling the property to you, one of the witnesses needs to sign as the deponent, right? Witnessing the whole transaction. And when you have that document, it means you are good to go. And most people rest when they get the document, but you shouldn't rest. You need to proceed to the Lands Commission and get your interest registered.
That's the final stage.
Exactly. And you have a title, your title from the government.
Wow. So it is quite a detailed process, but it's doable with people like yourself as well to make sure that you go through. So just wrapping things up, especially for people that are not necessarily here to find out about land, but want to find out about property, for example, you also deal with property sales. In fact, we're in one of the properties that you're selling right now in North Legon for a very good price, right? It's how much?
260.
260. And how many bedrooms is this property?
3-bedroom.
3-bedroom property. Okay, so for anybody that's interested, get in touch with me and I'll pass you forward to Kwame. But just generally, for people that are looking to buy property, what would you say are the top locations that people should be looking in for property?
For prime?
Let's go with prime and let's go with up and coming.
Prime, you are looking at the same prime areas, Cantonment, Airport, Laboni, East Legon. I'll add North Legon because I think the area is taking like a very good shape with redevelopment. Most old buildings are being pulled down and they are developing new ones. Yeah, so you can consider these areas.
Okay, and then up and coming?
Up and coming, I'll say East Legon Hills. Which area again?
I guess, would you say the same ones as the lands?
Yeah, the same as the lands. Yeah, the same as the lands.
I mean, I would throw in places like Oyarifa, Adenta, those locations as well.
Yes, exactly.
I'm surprised you didn't even mention Oyibi and these places. Yeah.
Oyibi, Dodowa.
Exactly. Yeah. What about Spintex as well?
Spintex is already like developed area. Yeah.
But I'm talking in terms of prime.
Prime. I'll add. I think after the road construction, navigating to Spintex
it's so much easier.
Very easy now.
It's so much easier. So Kwame, thank you so much. You've given us so many insights in terms of how, the things to look out for and things for, especially those people in the diaspora. But just generally, what would you say is your biggest piece of advice for people that are in the diaspora who are looking to purchase property in Ghana?
Okay, so if you are looking to purchase a property in Ghana, go through the right channel. Don't cut corners. Involve the professionals that you need, valuers, surveyors, lawyers, and they will help you avoid any potential litigation.
Indeed. He's mentioned at least 3 or 4 professionals that you need. I think house inspectors as well. I think when you're buying a property, I'm a big believer now you should get, where you see it, get a house inspector in.
So basically the valuers are also in the position to do that for you. They can get you like a very detailed conditional assessment of the property.
And what kind of things will come up through that report?
They can get you the MEP report, the condition of the plumbing works, electrical works, roofing. They can check leakages and all those stuff for you. Yes.
Indeed. I think that's really, really important. So Kwame, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you too.
All the insights have been amazing. Kwame works with Property Data Hub. One of the things I think we might insert is your platform, which is maybe speak a little bit about the platform where people can actually go on there and find out about the data points in terms of how much properties are sold for in that area.
Okay. So we don't really have like a very comprehensive database that aggregates transaction, but we have an in-house platform where we aggregate sales data and rental data. So if you are buying a property, you can use that portal as your benchmark. So if you are buying a property, let's say OEB, you can go on the portal and type OEB. You see the most recent transaction, how much the person paid. And it can be a good basis for your negotiations.
Absolutely. So you heard it here first. So Kwame, thank you so much. If you're interested in getting in touch with Kwame as well, do reach out to me and I'll make sure I'll put you in touch. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a really insightful conversation today. We learned a whole lot as well. And we're all about helping you to prevent mistakes, costly mistakes when it comes to you purchasing property in Ghana. And despite all of these challenges, it is still very possible. And you can generate returns, whether through appreciation, whether through inheritance, and whether through rental returns as well. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't done so far already, please do hit on that subscribe button, hit on the notification bell so you don't miss out on my future videos. Give this video a thumbs up. Also, put something in the comments in terms of what questions you have or anything else that you'd like to find out more about. And guys, until my next video, I will see you. Bye.